investing in YouTube gear doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to break the bank. And that's why in this video, I'll be talking about tech or gear that you can use for your YouTube videos for under $25. But if we are just meeting, my name is Omar El Takouri with the Think Media team, and I'm so pumped to do this kind of rundown. And I think it'll help you no matter where you are in your content creation journey. If you're using your smartphone or if you're using a camera, these gear recommendations will be super helpful. But if you're pumped to get into this, smash that like button for me. And this is a live stream, so if you're watching live, let me know where you're watching from. But if you're watching on the replay, put down in the comments, replay fam. Put it down in the comments, replay fam. And this is Think Media. If you have found this video in search, and we do tips and tools, recommendations to build your influence on YouTube. And so pumped to get into it. And we are going to get right into it. And so we're going to be talking about 25 tech gear for YouTubers that I think will help you in your YouTube journey. And I just want to let you know, first things first, that everything I mention will be linked down below. We've created a kit link, so you can check that out. But you can also, go one by one once you get some time. But let me go through this real quick, and it's going to be super helpful. So let's just jump right into this. The first thing is a turntable. And nope, I lied. The first thing is this light from Amazon, and it's called a Will LED light. And what's so cool about this LED light is it's a rechargeable light strip that you can put on a magnet that has an adhesive right on it. So it actually comes with like 3 or 4 of these, which you can put in different places. But what's so cool about a light like this is you can use it as like a hair light and mount it somewhere either outside the shot, or you can mount it inside the shot, and it's like right in your YouTube videos, which is super cool, right? I think it's a cool thing to have. I also think this is cool for lighting your face if you're doing live streams and things like that. It has a way of being dimmable, and what's cool about it is it also has different colors and things like that. But again, check this out. This is about $23, and you can find this on Amazon. Links down below. Like I mentioned before, the next thing is an SD card. What's crazy about SD cards nowadays is you could get a big SD card. Let me focus right there. 128 gigabyte SD card is super helpful for being able to capture a lot of video. And so what's awesome about that is you don't have to always format your video, and you can always, pull up different, you can record a ton of content, do a ton of thumbnails. And one thing I do like doing is formatting my card ever so often. And so that's one way you can do it. And what's crazy is 128 gigs can get you so much when it comes to all the footage you're capturing, especially if you're capturing in 1080p. But the next one, I'm just going to get my screen share. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but I'm working through it. If you can put some clap emojis in the comments, say, Omar, you got this. That'll be super helpful and fun. All right, let me share my screen real quick. So this right here is a turntable. What is a turntable? A turntable is something that literally moves left and right. And if you have a cooking channel that uses, food, like if you're putting food on a plate, because that's what you cook when you make food, you cook food. But this turntable is cool because it not only comes in white, but it also comes in black. It's a $23 turntable. And I think this is cool for what is called B-roll. B-roll is the supplemental footage you put on top of A-roll. And if you do, product reviews, like I mentioned, cooking videos, or, you just want to display an object and add some vibes to it. It's just cool that you can rotate that thing and keep your camera on a tripod, and it'll add some motion to your shot. And so they have a few different versions of this. I mean, obviously the cheapest version is a $24 version, but you can really start turning up the weight. Like this one can hold some, you know, and it's got a wireless remote and stuff like that. So this one's really cool. The Folletto turntable display, a super cool tech idea. Now, the next thing I want to show you is this quick release plate. And what's so cool about this quick release plate is it's $25, number one. Number two, it's just so easy to use. And so I'm actually going to cut to my second angle again and show you how easy it is to kind of remove the quick release plate. So here I am cutting my second angle, and I got my M50 on this, you know, quick release. And so now I'm able to pull it up. This is actually like the main kind of shot that I'm getting my main talking head. But, you know, I just pulled it off the quick release, and now I'm going to put it right on it, and it's all cinched up, and I'm ready to go. And so if you have a camera and you use it for multiple things, getting one or two of these is super smart, because you can move your camera off of a tripod and then put it onto the back of your, you know, desk setup or what have you. But this is a super clutch, I think, accessory that you should probably have in your kit, because, you know, it's really helpful to move fast. And so check out this kit from Ulanzi. I really love it. Just with, you know, with a button releases it, and then when you put it in, it locks it into place, which is super cool. And then what's also cool in this 25 tech review is it's actually an app. So what's cool about an app is this app, and I've made a couple of videos on this, and you can check those out on our YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel. And this Mojo app actually allows you to create YouTube intros, you know, social media handles and bumpers. So like if you ever see a YouTube video, when it pops up and then it shows the, you know, Instagram or your YouTube channel, if you want to put subscribe, but also if you want to, you know, make titles, if you want to make moving titles and things like that, this is how you can do it. And this particular app is free. It is a free version, and it's called Mojo. But the reason why I included this is because if you have it for a month subscription, it's $10 a month, or it's $40 a year. And so, you know, let me know if you think that's where I think it's worth it, especially if you just sign up for a month, you get 3 free days. Okay. And then you also get, you know, the ability to create all you can in that month's time. And then if you need to cancel it because you made your YouTube bumper or what have you, then go ahead and cancel it. I don't think there's any shame there, but this is super. I've actually really enjoyed using this for some personal work and things like that. And, you know, a lot of people want those moving, you know, motion graphics, and this makes it so easy. It's good for Android. It's good for Apple. And you can really level up your videos with this recommendation. The next thing I would recommend you are friction arms. And so if you don't know what a friction arm is, it allows your camera, you know, if it's a recorder, anything with a, you know, 1/4 inch, you know, screw, you can now maneuver your camera. And so I actually have it on the camera that I released, which I can actually show you. That's why we got 2 angles, turn up. And so this right here, if I could turn it, oh gosh, this is a nightmare. There you go. Your boy got the small rig friction arm with the quick release. And what's so cool is you can just, you know, I can tilt the camera. Sorry, we're live. I could tilt the camera, but I can also, you know, change the angle. If you're doing like stories content, you can use this to do stuff like that. Like I said, anything with a 1/4 inch thread. So if you even have a monitor, this is helpful. And I have a few of these small rig friction arms. And then the other friction arm that I also want to recommend is this one from Wanbi. I don't know, you can call it Wanbi, but this one's 11 inches. The small rig one isn't so big. It's a little short, stubby guy, thick with 2 C's at the end. Just kidding. But this is an Wanbi one, and I actually use this for my main camera right now. And so that if you see this clamp right here, I have clamped it to the back of my monitor, and it really creates a clean setup. But these friction arms are so helpful for, you know, if you do YouTube talking head videos, even just like this, and if you're if your camera is about arm's length distance, you could totally put your mic on the top of your camera and it'll sound okay. Now, what would sound even better is if your mic was a foot closer to your mouth, still out of frame, but right here instead of way on top of the camera. And so if you do talking head videos and you've been, using a shotgun mic on top of your camera, let me encourage you to look into something like this, because it'll bring your mic closer to you, therefore giving you better sounding audio. And so look into a friction arm. Again, everything is listed down below. This next thing I'm pretty pumped about. I think absolutely everyone, if you have a camera, should have this in your kit. And that is this capture card. Now, the reason why I actually recommend this capture card over other cheaper ones is because we actually have used it here at Think Media. And so with this capture card, this will allow you to use the HDMI port in your camera. That's what I'm doing right now on the Canon M50. And then from your HDMI, plug it into any computer or laptop you have via USB. And so, this turns your HDMI into a USB, essentially. And I think this is one of the easiest ways to start live streaming and having great quality. Now, if you're not even there and you're not even live streaming yet, this is just an assumption, is that even for Zoom calls, if you're on a Zoom call, you can look this crispy. And what I mean by this crispy, I mean this crispy, because if you're using the HDMI port out of your camera and you have all your settings dialed in correctly, you can definitely stand out in your Zoom calls. But I think when stepping into live streaming, it's pretty huge. So check this out. And just a power tip is this coupon. If you have an Amazon account, anytime you see this right here, make sure you click it, because you get extra discounts on your purchases. And so I think this one will give me 12%, so I'll probably save $1 or $2 right there. But a lot of these products that I'm mentioning currently at the time of filming this have the ability to hit that coupon save button. And so that's pretty cool. This is an HDMI capture card. The one that's like the go-to one is called the Camlink 4K, and it's about a $120 capture card. And so I actually have a video on the channel where I actually compare the two, this $20 capture card and the $120 capture card. And really though, the difference is so minimal. It more or less is like color, it kind of tweaks the color a little bit on the cheap end, but definitely look into having a capture card. Simply, like I said, for Zoom call videos, I love showing up to our meetings here at Think Media and just making everybody look like they didn't get out of bed. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. But I do think the new age of like dressing up for work, obviously with a lot of us working from home, could be just showing up, looking your best on video. And part of that, I think, is if you have a camera laying around, that you can do that with a capture card. The next thing I want to recommend is kind of underrated, and that is a continuous power battery for whatever camera you have. I know it's daunting to shoot YouTube videos. If I could just be quite frank, but on the beginning of this video in this live stream, I shut down I actually closed out my slideshow, and I was like, dude, where'd it go? But nonetheless, a lot of times it takes a long time to get a video shot, especially if you're starting out. Somebody in our community said that, hey, they just finished shooting their first video, which is super cool, but that it took them about 6 hours to shoot their first video, and it was all talking head. So I say all that to say that if you had a one battery that comes with your camera, and it would die in a few hours, that would be unfortunate. And so one way around buying tons of batteries, if you're staying in, in a closed environment and you have access to power, is to just get the power adapter for your camera. And so I have those on my M50s that I'm using right now. And so I'll never have to worry about my battery dying, which is a good thing. And I think if you're shooting long form, or even, you just don't want to worry about battery, it's $18 for this M50 one. And that removes the headache completely. So that's super cool. And so that's that was the next thing. That was the continuous battery. The next thing I want to recommend you is this smartphone tripod. Now, I think, again, the reason why I put must-have tech for YouTubers is because as a YouTuber, I'm not always using my fancy camera setups. A lot of the times I'm actually out and about, and I need to film something on the go or what have you. I still use my smartphone many times to create content, and not even just for YouTube, but also for Instagram and things like that. And I think having a decent, tripod setup for your smartphone is just a smart move to have. And so, I think like this one right here is from Ulanzi, and having this is super clutch. And I made a video on this a couple weeks ago, and we'll post links to that down in the description at the end of this, and you can check that out. But what I love about this one in particular is that it has a Bluetooth remote. I never thought it would be so nice to hit record wirelessly from your camera. But if you're using your smartphone to create content, by the way, let me know down in the comments if you're a smartphone creator, and let me know what phone you're using. But use the Bluetooth remote to, start recording. And I think it's cool because your smartphone usually makes a noise if it's not on vibrate or whatever, and you can hear your camera record. And here's another reason why I think having a Bluetooth remote to start and stop recording is huge, is I like using the rear facing camera in the smartphone, on my smartphone, on my iPhone, because the back camera is more superior than the front. It's just smart. So with that being said, I can't really see myself when I'm, using my smartphone. And so having that, audio when I hit record and it starts recording. And then also if you use this as a vlog setup, being able to just click without having to turn it around and things like that is really key. But going back to the LED light that I mentioned, I didn't really have it pulled up, but I just wanted to show you kind of like the page on it. So this is that magnet light that I showed you in the beginning. I think this is just a cool accessory. I mean, not only is it, like I said, could be shown in the back of your videos, but it can also be, used as an actual hair light. If you don't know what a hair light is simply just having light in the background that like cuts you out. And so actually this neon sign, the other behind me, is creating some of that separation from my background. If I had that light off, my hair would get lost in the background completely. And so having something like this is just super key and helpful, I think. So, I know I'm just gonna mock a hair light real quick, but you can notice how me putting the light over my head as I keep turning it off and look, you see how it separates me from the background, because now you can see where my hair cuts off. So that is super cool. And there is a few that you can choose from. So they have this 3.0 version for $22.99, and then there's also a 5.0 version. I got the 5.0. I know it's close to $25, but I think just really cool light that you can use. Obviously, I don't think they created it for YouTube videos, as you can see, but I do like that it's rechargeable. They say the battery lasts quite some time, and so I think super cool little light setup for your YouTube videos. And then just because I didn't have it pulled up earlier, I do want to show this one, and that for a 128 gigabyte SD card, you can get it for $22.99. I think that is such a steal. I think so. I have one right here. When I bought this one, I think I paid around $85 for it. And it was because I was in a pinch, and then I ran to Best Buy and went and bought it a couple of years ago. And it's just crazy to see that this, in particular is $23. And what's cool about it is also the speed. So, a lot of people are unsure about what kind of SD cards to get and things like that. This one has 150 megabytes per second. And so if you are using a Sony camera that shoots 4K at 100 megabytes per second, that's when you say that when you see 100M on your Sony camera, that's the megabytes per second. So this card can handle the 4K footage that your Sony camera is shooting without any issues. And then I definitely great for the M50 as well, as I see brick science, especially for the M50. And so check out this SD card. I'm just surprised that SD cards are this cheap. But so far, let me know down in the comments which thing that I mentioned earlier or in this gear recommendation is something that piqued your interest. Let me know which one you thought was the coolest. And just before we actually hop into some Q&A, I do want to show you a couple stores on Amazon just to like keep your eyes out on that I always do in particular. And that is, yes, if you do have a question, just put 4 question marks in front of your question and then 4 question marks behind it. Yep. Grow with Angie said the turntable would be cool. Yes, I think the turntable is super tight because, you know, when we do camera, you know, reviews and things like that, just in the intro, when we say, hey, we're checking out the Canon M50 and the ZV-1, if like that shot just had the turntable going with the camera, it could be nice. And it just makes it easy for filming, to be honest with you. When something else is moving and you don't have to move because maybe you don't have a gimbal or what have you, you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, the turntable is super cool and highly recommended. I'm pumped to start using it in some videos. But the store I wanted to show you real quick, or the 2 stores in particular, is the first one is just the Ulanzi store. This is just a brand that's on Amazon, and they make incredible products for YouTubers and vloggers and things like that. As you can see, they have this like suction cup light for, you know, if you're on Zoom calls. I've been using this smartphone vlog kit that you see in this little reel here. But they just have so many good stuff like rigs, things like that, that can really level up, and not just smartphone creating, but also with cameras and things like that as well. And so check out Ulanzi. Now, the second one that I want to recommend to you is this is Urig. Urig is another brand on Amazon that just has great products for, you know, creating content. And Urig, like this, and a lot of the times they make product that actually is not helpful for, or that like helps with like some flaws of cameras. And so, you know, there are some Sony cameras that don't have the flip up screen. So for $20, instead of buying a monitor and things like that, you can get this little addition and see yourself when you're filming your YouTube videos. They also have cages and things like that. One thing in particular that I love that's from them is that video, in addition to what I have the ZV-1 on. Give me a sec. Bang, bang. So I have the ZV-1. I love this camera. Let me know if you've heard about this camera, the ZV-1. But with the ZV-1, there are some flaws with it. Part of it is the battery door. You know, if you put a tripod here where you're supposed to, you actually can't access the battery door, which means you also can't access your SD card, which is unfortunate. So Urig actually makes this little cage thing that moves that screw over. So now I can either put continuous power, like I mentioned earlier, and have access to my SD card and not have to keep unscrewing the tripod or the quick release plate, right? The next thing that the other brand that I mentioned, Ulanzi, has is the wide angle lens for Sony. And I'll be making a video on this in particular. But I say all that to say that those 2 brands on Amazon are just super cool and are just very helpful when it comes to creating content with your smartphone or your camera. And so check out Ulanzi, check out, you know, Urig, check out all the things I mentioned. Again, down in the description below. And again, let me know. I wanted to see more people. What was your favorite thing that you saw? And that is the, you know, YouTube recommendation gear for under $25 that I think could help level up your stuff. Now, I'm so pumped about this next portion of this video. We're going to be bringing on Mel onto the stream. And Mel, one of my favorite people on the planet. Let me tell you what, you know, here at Think Media, we're like a family. We have a lot of people that help, you know, serve our community. And just a side note, but like on Valentine's Day, Mel made a like, date night care package for me and my wife, dropped it off at our front door. And I was like, dude, you did not have to do that, but I'm so grateful you did, because now we got marshmallows and we're going to be having a cool little date night. But Mel, pumped to answer these questions. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Omar. I love this video particularly because I actually feel like when I watch a lot of tech videos, I'm like, well, that's a cool thing, but like it's kind of out of my reach right now. It's out of what budget I would be spending on like cool tech accessories. And so this video specifically, I think it's like cool things that are accessible to most people in our community that we can grab, that like just make those small tweaks that lead to giant peaks.
That's right.
Say that phrase, indoctrinated by Sean. So I'm really excited about this video. And then we have some questions coming in about some more tech recommendations if you are ready.
Let's do it. Bring it on.
All right. So one of the first questions that we have is just like a really quick note from Robert. He was asking about that small rig. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, friction arm.
The friction arm. And he was asking if the M50 like battery door, if it's blocked when you use that. And I just thought that was a really good practical question because I've had issues with that myself.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't think it does. And so I think it has a little like circle on it, but it's not big enough to cover the door, and you'd be a-okay. Actually, Kyle Anderson, one of our editors on Think Media, kind of has this setup, so you don't have to worry about it covering the door if you get that one. But I would say whenever I'm in the market, looking for something in particular, I usually do buy 2 of something just to be sure. And then if, with it being kind of on the low price point, you can definitely try a different version of it, whether it be another name brand or what have you. But I don't believe it does. So yeah. And I know I can ask questions all the time, but using the continuous power with my M50, there's a rubber door, if that's what you're worried about too. There's a rubber door where the plug of the battery only goes. So you don't even have to keep the door open, which wouldn't allow you to use it anyway. Anyway, next question.
Great. These are all the little nuances that only like a true, like through and through content creator lives and breathes this every day would even think about or know. So another question is from Robbie. Robbie is asking about the best point and shoot camera for vlogging. And we actually do have a couple of videos on that, Robbie. So I will drop some in there. But Omar, do you want to give some thoughts on most recent?
The best point and shoot camera for vlogging, dude, hands down, I'm sorry, but has to be the Sony ZV-1. And for a lot of reasons. I think the first reason I think it's good for vlogging is it is a good focal length. Like, I know a lot of people without this little wide angle adapter, if you didn't even have this wide angle adapter, it'd be about a 24 millimeter equivalent, which if you're holding the camera at arm's length distance, it's going to be okay. So you don't have to worry too much about if you're not getting everything in the shot. Another reason, obviously, if we're talking vlogging, is there's the flip out screen, the articulating flip out screen. So you could see yourself. And really, they really made this with the vlogger in mind. And so what's also cool about the ZV-1 is it has an internal ND filter, and it's very beginner friendly. There's a background defocus button. So if it's like, man, I want more blurry background, literally press this button, and then you'll be able to get your background blurry. There's just so many things about it. It's such a great, reliable 4K camera. But maybe if you don't want to vlog in 4K, you can shoot in 1080 on this. And I have used this for live streaming as well because it has a clean HDMI output. So if you get that, like if you get a ZV-1 and you get that capture card that I mentioned earlier in this video, you can live stream with it. And so it really is like, I think this ultimate content creator camera, and really packs a punch in such a small package. I would give that best vlogging point and shoot camera to the Sony ZV-1.
Thanks, Omar. So talking about Sony cameras, we have a question about the Sony a5100. What are your thoughts in light of the other cameras that have been coming out recently?
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, there is like the Sony a5100, And there's also the Sony A6100. Now, one thing I do know is the Sony A5100. It's a great camera, I think, to get started because of the price point. Especially if you get it used, you can get it for really like maybe a few $100s. I would say where it kind of falls, the A5100, I don't believe, has a mic jack input. So that's not a deal breaker. Now, I think if you want to vlog and you want an interchangeable camera, your mic right on top of the camera will do just fine. I just personally, I'm a big, tech guy, and I really care about the experience of my viewer, that I like to make sure that my audio sounds good. And so in order for me to have good sounding audio, I like to control that by using an external audio, whether it be a lapel mic, whether it be a shotgun mic on top of the camera, or what have you. But you can't do that with the A5100. However, this is what I think the A5100 is perfect for. It's perfect for the live streamer. And I say that because the A5100 is a 1080 camera and 1080p camera. And what's if you're live streaming, it also has a clean HDMI. So if you get the A5100, you get the cheap capture card that I mentioned. And there's also this really cool lens that's super cheap. It's called the Sony 16mm 2.8, not the Sigma, the Sony lens. That setup is what Heather Torres on Think Media uses as her live stream setup. And it doesn't matter that she doesn't have a mic jack input, because she uses a USB mic to capture her audio into her live streams. And so if you're not too worried about external audio, then it's a great camera. But I would have you look, if you want to spend the extra money. And I always, I understand people have various different budgets, but sometimes there's camera features that you may want just a few years from now. And if you can, maybe save a couple more $100 to get the camera that has all the features, i.e., a mic jack input, and maybe a different battery life, if it's a different type of battery that's in it, or maybe it's in-body image stabilization, that you might thank yourself later for just spending the extra couple $100 so you had the ability to have those features captured or what have you. And so I would recommend the A5100 for live streaming as well as vlogging. Great.
And we have a question from Evan about the Blackmagic 6K Pro. So Evan, Nolan Molt from our team actually just did a video on this on his channel. And so I think that'll probably be a really good representation of what we think. Omar, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Oh, yeah, I think it's sweet. I watched a few videos earlier this morning on it. And I think I don't think there's huge leaps in video quality. So I think what Blackmagic obviously did is they just took into consideration the ergonomics of the previous 4K and 6K minis, and then they took into account like with the screen and stuff, and the way you hold it, and the eye viewfinder, and then also I think which was a big flaw was the battery life, and so they changed out the battery. But I'm just saying, again, it's not going to be a huge leap in quality, so I almost would be more pumped about getting a cheaper one, because I think the 4K and even 6K are going to drop down to around $1,000, which is actually pretty crazy for what kind of content gets produced out of those cameras. And so I don't know. I know there's a whole movement on these Blackmagic cameras, building out your rigs and things like that. I don't think it's viable for like YouTube videos, unless you're into educating on it or even using it to tell stories and things like that. But that's what I think about it. I think it's a super sweet thing that they're doing. I just wish I wish it was full frame. I wish it had better autofocus or something like that. So a guy like me could use it.
Yeah, I think most of us are probably doing really well with the M50, the Sony one, like you mentioned. All right, this question was coming up from a couple different people, but Jay Ramirez is asking about detachable lenses for phones. And I think the first question, Omar, is would you recommend prioritizing getting attachable lenses? And if so, which ones do you recommend?
Yeah, to answer the first question, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, partly being because I think about like the least path of resistance when it comes to creating content. And that's why I still love knowing I have all this gear that like I love my smartphone for how easy it is to use. And so with that being said, I definitely think within the last few years, you know, camera companies have created phones with multiple lenses on it already. And so I'm not a huge fan of that because, you know, now you have to put a different case on your, smartphone. And then now you have to carry these assortment of lenses around. And I do think it all matters for the ideal use of your phone. Like if it's on a tripod, it'd make a little bit more sense. However, one company I just stand by when it comes to these attachable lenses for phones is Moment lenses. They make incredible quality products. I do think, you know, there's a whole movement of like cinema, cinema films shot on iPhones and things like that. And a lot of ways you can achieve some cool shots they're not necessarily lenses that give you better quality. They're more or less lenses that give you effects. So like, lenses that make lights kind of like, streaky and things like that. Like, mister lenses, like create a foggy look type vibe. So I think on a effect standpoint, it might make more sense than an actual practical, creating YouTube videos standpoint. So, I would almost just look into investing in a newer smartphone that has multiple lenses. I love the iPhone's wide angle lens. I'm like addicted to it. So, yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the same thought of like with the newer iPhones and everything as well. When like by the time that you upgrade, you're going to be getting a lot of those features anyway. And we did have some comments in here at people asking what your thoughts were about the new iPhone coming out anyway, if it's worth the investment, if there's a big enough leap in quality from say like the 11 to the 12.
Yeah, I mean, the only leap in quality when it comes to the iPhone's camera from the 12 and the 11 is in the 12 Pro Plus. That's the only model this year that actually got like a noticeable camera upgrade because the sensor is a little bit bigger and the aperture is a little bit lower. So I mean for whatever it's worth. Now I'm on this like weird journey of just being like this all around YouTube creator on an iPad Pro, because I think one thing about having a big smartphone is like, if you're going to edit on it, your screen is still small to edit the video. And I think what's so cool about the iPad Pro is that they have the 3 lenses on it. So if you want to use wide, if you want to use the medium wide or the tight telephoto lens, it's all there. And it shoots 4K, 24, 30, and 60 frames per second. And then I've been using LumaFusion to edit. And it's almost like this like all-in-one computer camera, which I know the smartphone serves as, but I think a lot of people would actually find it beneficial to have the screen real estate when you're editing with LumaFusion or whatever editing software you're using. But it all being there, like I found that one hang up when using my smartphone to create content is just the transferring over to my laptop. So it's like, I got to either airdrop the footage, which isn't too bad, but if they're longer form, it's going to it can like crap out, or just, copying it over. It's just a process, which is fine. But I think maybe instead of upgrading your smartphone, which you use for texting and social media and things like that, maybe it'd be wise to just get an iPad Pro that's like this all-in-one creator kit. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Euro Auto Enthusiast is saying, I love my iPad Pro, especially for editing in Lightroom and Photoshop. Before you even mentioned it, Omar, it's like on top of it because it is such an effective tool for being able to do all of that in one place, as you mentioned. We just have time for a couple more questions. And I thought this was really good and coming up a couple times from Mel Williams about the best cheap lighting kit. And before you get into answering this question, Omar, I was actually wondering if we could pull up the Think Media YouTube channel. I know you already have your screen shared, so I'm just throwing this at you to do. If you could pull that up and show everyone how they can actually search for that on our YouTube channel, because a lot of these questions that are coming in, I've been dropping you guys like links to videos that we've actually already created. So if you hit the search button or the search icon, and then just maybe type in the cheap lighting, because this is one of the best ways you can actually see different recommendations for different scenarios. We have recommendations for if you're vlogging or when you are in a small space, and a lot of different options. So yeah, $1 cinematic lighting hacks from Nolan there. All right. Omar, do you
Yeah.
have any other things
No,
you want to
yeah.
add?
Let me put my 2 cents on that. I think not too many people use Think Media as a archival resource. And maybe you found our videos because maybe you were looking for your YouTube studio setup, or you're trying to figure out what camera you should buy, or, you know, maybe there was one instance where we came of service to you on our YouTube channel, but and then maybe you started watching the videos after you subscribed, because we try posting almost a video every day, Monday through Friday. And so that's awesome. Now, just know that we have been building out this library of content that is on our channel, Think Media, and you can 100% use it to search audio, search podcasts, search live streaming, search, you know, whatever it is. We probably have some sort of video on it, and then that's where we also get great ideas in moments like this, when you do ask questions like that. But yes, Nolan's video that he recently dropped, I don't know, maybe like 2 months ago, was that cheap lighting for under $50. And so it's a awesome light that, again, under $50, that has a remote to control it on and off. Super cool. And then it also has the ability to change temperatures. So if you want it to be warm or cold, or bright or dark, all by the remote, you can do that. Now, I know you asked for a kit. I would actually argue that you don't really need a full-blown kit to get started on YouTube. I'm currently, you see Omar El Takori right now. This is Omar El Takori. I'm using one light. There's only one light hitting my face, and it's a soft box like I showed you, and it's filling my face really well. You know, I don't need to blast myself with 3 light panels. And I think knowing what you want when it comes to what you're trying to achieve on a look standpoint is pretty key, because you might just need one key light, and then you might want a light like I mentioned earlier, like this, or maybe another little square light or something that can be used to splash color. And so just think about that's the setup you're looking for, and then go from there. I think you'd save a lot of money in the process.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the key things as well, is going through and watching a couple of these different videos and seeing the different perspectives. I think one of the major benefits of a channel like Think Media is we have Omar, and we have Nolan, and we have Sean, and we have these different people, like I was mentioning, that are bringing in, you know, their different priorities for lighting. And so if you have a small space, that is like a major factor for what lighting that you're going to be looking for, or maybe you're a vlogger. And so take advantage of that search feature that we're talking about, and really just dive into those archives of content. And as we are wrapping up today, I could not get to all of your guys' questions. So I see questions about, you know, the best cheap microphone, you know, what do we think about this camera, and what do we think about the, you know, A6400? So I just want to assure you guys that just because we didn't get to your question here in this video, do not worry, because you can head to that search function of our channel and just type in A6400, and you will get answers to your questions. And you're going to get them with great B-roll, with, you know, us speaking succinctly about the pros and the cons. So it's actually maybe even a better way to get your information on a couple of those different questions. And so I highly recommend doing that. And then as we wrap up today, Omar, I was hoping you could leave us with just the answer to this one last question, which is for somebody who is unable to afford new technology, even if it's under $25, they can't invest in new tech accessories right now. What is one tip that they can take away today to level up their video content?
The one tip I would give you to level up your video content, and as far as a production value side of things, is to level up your lighting. Lighting could make whatever camera you have look awesome. It's really lighting that makes that pulls the most out of whatever camera you're using. Whether you're using your smartphone, whether you're using you know, a fancy camera, or whatever, an old camera, having good lighting is so key to pulling out the best image out of your video. And then, I mean, my sub tip to that is the next thing. It isn't a newer camera, and it isn't a newer lens. It's actually investing in audio. 50% of video is an audio experience. And so just knowing that you can have a great looking video, but if your audio isn't, you know, distraction free, if it isn't, at the right volume and things like that, then you're going to turn off your viewers, which you don't want. And so we always push, invest in your lighting and your audio before you even invest into your camera solution. And so that would be my takeaway to you. And that you're probably not needing a newer camera. You're most likely needing a better light setup, or a better mic setup. And so I hope that helps. Just think about that the first thing you should change is your audio and your lighting. But I'm so super glad that you would join us on this video. Again, use Think Media as a resource for anything you have in regards to creating YouTube content. We want to be that help for you. But more than anything, thank you so much for checking out this video. Before you pop off, hit the like button, and thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you in a future video. Talk soon.